Hello everyone, happy Friday. It is January 27th and we have one meeting to tell you about today. It'll be at 9:30 this morning and it's the GRF Compliance Ad Hoc Committee meeting, and that will be in the Sycamore Room. And then on our show today we have Seth Tigan, who is here on behalf of Providence Mission Hospital. We're going to learn a little bit more about him and what Mission Hospital is up to, and they are expanding, and they want to let you know all about it. And then we have Cole Young with our Sports Corner, so stick around for all of that. All right, let's take a look at our weather. Well, we're still looking at beautiful sunshine skies. As you can see behind me, we still have a little snow on the mountains, but we are going to start clouding up on Saturday night, and we will welcome some rain again. 67-47 today, tomorrow 61-49. We start to cloud up in the evening, and Sunday rain and Monday rain 55-44, 55-40, and then Tuesday sunshine again 59-40. Our sunrise this morning, if you're traveling, take a look at these numbers. Local beaches 58-49, San Diego 60-50, Santa Barbara 61-40, Palm Springs still chilly 65-44, Tahoe 31-10, Big Bear 40-20, Mammoth 26-8. Las Vegas 59-36. It's going to be nice, but we are going to expect rain starting on Sunday. All right, our sunrise this morning was at 6:50. Our sunset will be at 5:17, and this is Dana Point Harbor. Believe it or not, when it rains, there is a waterfall in Dana Point Harbor, and it's just down the end of the road when you head down the harbor towards the center at the very end. So you can see that on the right-hand side. All right, and just to inform you again, this weekend, mulch that has been generated by the village, or generated in the village by the Department of Landscaping Services, will be available for free, and it's going to be the whole weekend starting today. Clubhouse 3 and 5. You will need to bring your own shovel and container, as they won't have any available for you, but you can always come back and get more and more for the whole weekend. All right, stay tuned. We'll have Seth Tigan. We'll be right back.
Oh, life, how we admire you, are deeply fascinated by you. All your twists and turns and wild rides you take us on. The ups and the downs. Life, you live inside all of us, breathing, growing, beating. You are the reason we'll always provide world-class healthcare. Providence, we see the life in you.
Welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Seth Tigan here, who's here on behalf of Providence Mission Hospital. Well, welcome. It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me, Lisa.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining the show. Now, this is the first time that we've met you, and we've actually had you on the show. We've had many of your doctors come on and doing great stuff over there. There's a lot of wonderful specialties that you guys are doing, and I know that not too long ago you built the Cancer Center, the Leonard Cancer Center, and now you're going to expand even more. But before we get into that, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you arrived at Providence.
I'm happy to do that, and again, thank you for having me this morning. So about 4 years ago, so I came here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was the CEO of a couple hospitals in Milwaukee with another Catholic health system, and I've been telling folks Catholic health care is a relatively small world. And so I got a call in, I guess it would be the spring or the winter of 2019, and was asked, we have this job in Southern California with another Catholic health system, would you be interested? And I said, no, I'm not. And they said, well, why not? We think it would be a perfect professional fit for you. It's in this incredible location. And we'd never been to Southern California, my family. We'd never been to SoCal. So when I heard Mission Viejo, I didn't know where that was.
Yes.
But at the time, the polar vortex was blowing through the Midwest. So 40 below zero with the wind chill in Milwaukee at the time. And I called my wife on the phone. Our kids were in both very young at the time, 7 and 6, or 8 and 7 maybe at the time. And I said, you want to go check this out? I mean, if we're ever going to leave the Midwest, we're Wisconsin natives. This would be our opportunity to, have our adventure. And she said, let's go check it out. And we came out here. It's been the best thing that we've done. Incredible professional opportunity for me.
Sure.
Mission Hospital and Providence in totality is a really, really special place. But then to get to raise our family here, I would tell you, I was sharing with John prior to this, it's interesting. People from the Midwest, I think when you say you're moving to California, in their mind, they picture Los Angeles. Or they think that I'm stuck in traffic all the time. And the reality is this is a lot like the Midwest. It's safe, great public schools, great place to raise a family, and then, of course, the weather that we get to enjoy and the California lifestyle that we get to enjoy is really special. So it's been an amazing transition for us. 3.5 years I've been here. It's gone by really fast.
And that when you said that you said no, my mouth just dropped. I'm like, wait, 40 below, and here we never see anything close to that.
That's right. And again, once we looked at a map and understood where both Mission Viejo and Laguna Beach were, where the two hospital campuses were, it made it that much more intriguing.
Exactly. And it's a shame that actually when you say that on the TV, you probably see a lot of what's going on in Los Angeles, and you never really hear anything that's going on in Orange County because we don't have a local television station that covers just Orange County. So we get sort of umbrellaed by Los Angeles. So glad you came. So congratulations to you. So give me a little bit of a history about Providence Mission Hospital. It's been around for quite some time.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. almost 51 years ago, the land was actually donated by the O'Neill family, or the Rancho Mission Viejo company, as you're probably familiar with. Tony Moiso and his family continue to run the ranch. That was donated to us 50 years ago. In this idea, if you can imagine this, even it's hard for me to imagine a time where the only exit off the 5 was Crown Valley. And Mission Viejo wasn't born yet as one of these first developed communities. So I think there was a lot of forethought from the community leaders at the time to recognize if we're going to continue to build out a community and have a place to live and have great schools and churches and all these other things, we need a hospital in the middle of that. We need a place to be able to take care of our community. And so Mission Hospital was born. You can see on these slides behind you here that original part of the hospital campus is in the upper right-hand corner. So the single-story building that lives on our campus today. Now you can see the 2 bed towers there adjacent to that. That's Tower 1 and Tower 2 as we've expanded over time. And then as you mentioned earlier in the lower right-hand corner, that's the Leonard Cancer Institute. I joke with people, best construction project I've ever been part of. And the reason I say that is I started in August of 19, and I got to go to the ribbon cutting in November of 19.
Oh, wow.
So I really did none of the work and got to do all of the celebrating for all the brilliant people, including our medical staff and many others that put that plan together.
Yeah, and it is amazing, and I've heard nothing but great things about it. And it's good that you specialize. I mean, I like the fact that it has a lot of specialties there. And it would seem that we do have an awful lot of specialties in other areas as well. What makes that one so special compared to some of the others we have?
Well, I think from a hospital standpoint, one of the things that's really unique to Mission Hospital is the fact that we're the only level 2 adult and pediatric trauma receiving center in South Orange County. So all the way down to Camp Pendleton, all the way going up the coastline into all the way up to Newport Beach, and then up into Lake Forest and Irvine, and over to Rancho Mission Viejo and Rancho Santa Margarita. That's kind of the catchment area, and so anyone that's in a traumatic event, whether that's a car accident or the e-bike situation we have in our community now. We've seen a major uptick in e-bike activity, head injuries, not just kids, adults as well. But we'll see probably close to 3,000 traumas this year, if you can believe that. And if you back into how many that is a day,
that is a lot.
Between 8 and 10 traumas are occurring on any given day at our hospital. So that is a special and unique service. And then what I would say on the surgical specialty side is I would put our medical staff up against any academic medical center. We're really blessed that I think we have a lot of physicians that want to come and practice medicine in South Orange County. And it's created this great environment at our hospital where we really feel like many of the services we provide are only provided at academic medical centers, but we're doing that in a faith-based, not-for-profit community hospital setting, which is unique.
And it's not small. You have an awful
No,
lot to offer.
no, it's a big place. I mean, I think what
Yeah.
we're most proud of, especially during the pandemic, is our caregivers. And all
Right.
2,700 caregivers between the 2 hospital campuses, 850 medical staff. It's a really big place. And I think the best thing for the community is there's great healthcare in this community. It's not unique just to Providence
Yeah.
and Mission Hospital, but I think our community has choice. And when you have some of those super specialized services, God forbid you need them. That's what I always tell people in the community. I hope to see you again, just not at the hospital.
Right.
But we really are here to serve in that way. So it's a pretty special setup we have at Mission.
Well, and we have a slide that shows an awful lot of accolades
Yeah.
that you have, which is really remarkable.
So when you look at all of these accolades, we're proud of all of them, by the way, and this isn't all of them. This is just a handful of them.
Right.
But there are a couple that I think are unique and special. Again, especially if you're talking about dealing with really scary things in healthcare. And I always think of stroke as an example. I think having a stroke, or if you know somebody that's had a stroke or a family member that's had a stroke, it's very scary because you don't know if that person's going to make a full recovery. Are they going to have things that they're going to have to continue to deal with from a health perspective? And we're a comprehensive stroke center. So there's over 6,000 hospitals across the country. There's less than 200 comprehensive stroke centers.
Wow.
We happen to be one of those.
Okay.
And there's lots of criteria that go into becoming a comprehensive stroke center. And then you can see the other things that are on that slide, including our mom-baby services. We're one of the only sepsis certified organizations in our in all of Providence. We were the first to be sepsis certified by the Joint Commission. And of course, we're very proud last year being named by Newsweek the #1 hospital in Orange County.
Wow.
And again, this is good for Orange County. We have great healthcare in Orange County and all the other health systems. So that competitive environment, I think, sets up nicely if you're shopping for your healthcare.
Well, exactly. Now, as we approach the remainder of 2023, obviously we just started.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you think are going to be pretty challenging?
Well, for us, I think our biggest headwind is the workforce. There's lots of different data points that are floating around out there, but nationally they're talking about us being somewhere around 2 million nurses short by 2030. Wow. And so if you think about what's happening in Orange County, again, this is great if you're a consumer of healthcare. You have Providence Mission Hospital expanding. You have Memorial Care, UCI building their new hospital up in Irvine.
Right.
Hoag building out their footprint in Irvine. City of Hope coming to Irvine. And the reason that becomes even more important to us is we're thinking about all those nurses and technicians and pharmacists and x-ray techs that we're going to need, and we're all competing for the same people. Right. So I think it's going to become even more challenging here in South Orange County to not only attract and retain the top talent, but we're competing with one another for a very finite group of people.
Well, right.
And, so how we can create more healthcare workers, I think, in the future becomes a really big deal for us.
Do you think it has something to do with maybe education? Like, do folks like yourself and maybe some other people that are working within the hospitals can go and talk to people at an earlier age going, these are the opportunities, this is what we're looking for?
Yeah.
Is it something that they do?
It is, and we have multiple partnerships with different nursing schools and different programs here in South Orange County. We even just recently reinstated a program we'd had with J. Sarah, the high school, to bring students in high school to get them interested in working in healthcare.
Okay.
And sometimes you're interested in science, and so healthcare is appealing. I think for most people that choose this as a career, I started my career in the hospital when I was 14 years old as a dishwasher, if you can believe that.
Okay.
And then became a clinical person. I was a phlebotomist, an x-ray tech, and a CT tech for many years before getting into leadership. And you hear people talk about being called to work in healthcare. Sure. And it really is, I think, for the most part, this idea of you like the feeling of helping someone.
Right.
Or helping someone on their journey, whether it's the diagnosis of something that might be scary, the birth of a child, which might be the most exciting or one of the most exciting parts in their life, or healing from a major injury or a car accident. So I think that's why people choose to work in healthcare, and how we're trying to excite this next generation of the workforce, that this is special work and it is unique to working in healthcare.
Well, exactly, and I'm glad that you said that you're partnering with, obviously the high school. Sometimes you wonder if you shouldn't go younger.
I know. Yeah, we
start
need the
at a
middle
younger
schoolers
age,
in there.
right? I mean, you can certainly show them, because a lot of the times they have these visions of what they want to be, but then once they get there, it's not necessarily what they want to be, or so exposing them to different areas.
Well, I think you're spot on.
is a great idea. So you have expansions. You're going to spend many millions
Lots
on your
of
expansions.
so I think this is really exciting. Again, just to give you an idea of how big our health system is, so we have 52 hospitals around the country, 120,000 caregivers that work at those 52 locations, thousands of ambulatory sites. We're in Alaska, Washington, Oregon, California, Texas, New Mexico, and Montana.
Wow.
And the reason I share all that with you is the health system's really making a couple strategic investments, only a couple, because we can only afford to do a couple, right? We can't do these sorts of expansions at all 52 locations.
Right.
We're one of those two real big strategic investments that Providence is going to make into the future. And so they're picking and choosing South Orange County to really double down on Mission Hospital and our physicians and our caregivers and our medical groups and our ambulatory centers to really build out something for the future. Part of that is because of the growth. And as you know, in Rancho Mission Viejo,
and it keeps going.
We're building out with this 40,000 square foot MOB. In San Clemente, we're really trying to be the healthcare provider down there for that community as they lost their hospital a handful of years ago. But this new bed tower will get us to all private rooms, which my joke with people when they say, well, why is that important? And my quick answer is, if you're in the hospital recovering from a surgery, or if you're visiting your loved one, would you like a roommate? I know I wouldn't. So our promise to our patients is that they're going to have an exceptional experience in our hospital. And sometimes, especially when the hospital swells with activity and we have to use some of those shared rooms, we don't always have the ability to deliver on that experience we want to offer patients and their families. So I think it's going to get us to all private rooms, and then also replace all of our operating rooms. You heard me talk about how we attract and retain those top physicians from around the country. You know, how do you attract someone from the East Coast at a Johns Hopkins or the South, like an MD Anderson or some of the best schools in the country? Well, you do that through making sure that you have the equipment and the technology and that kind of contemporary environment they're used to working in. And this will allow us to do that, building out the next phase of our operating rooms as well.
Well, that's great, because there's an awful lot of equipment that's latest and greatest that I've seen in some of the other areas. And so I think that's really a smart thing, because you definitely need to compete, as you mentioned before. So excellent. Now, you mentioned a couple of different things. Maybe you can be a little more specific on some of the new services. So for instance, a clinical program development, what are you doing there? Yeah,
so I'll talk about Rancho Mission Viejo and San Clemente maybe first, only because the services that we're going to offer, they're kind of mirror each other. So each of those MOBs will have a robust urgent care platform, a little higher acuity than maybe we've been able to do in the past. We'll have laboratories, radiology departments, potentially a pharmacy, family medicine, rotating specialists at each of those locations. And the way I've tried to describe it to our partners in the city at each of these locations is we really want to be able to do 95% of what that community needs at this healthcare ambulatory site. And for the 5%, for the things that are really acute, you want to come to a major medical center anyhow. You know, if you're in a car accident, going to the urgent care isn't where you want to be. If you're dealing with a new cancer diagnosis, going to the urgent care isn't where you're going to go and get that treatment or advice. You're going to come to Leonard Cancer Institute, or you're going to come to Mission Hospital or somewhere else in the community.
Now, what is it that you are offering down in San Clemente?
San Clemente is going to be unique in the way that, well, one, I think it's an incredible location. So I think most people are familiar with where the outlet mall is there and where the Chick-fil-A is there when you're pulling in. We own all that property kind of adjacent to the Chick-fil-A. Again, we'll have family medicine, rotating specialists, a urgent care called Exer, which is our urgent care partner. We've opened some other ones here in Orange County and in LA County. I think most recently Rancho Santa Margaritas and Huntington Beach are the two that we've opened most recently. And the difference with an Exer urgent care is they're staffed by emergency medicine physicians. So typically, in most urgent care settings, you would see a mid-level provider, a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner, or you may see a physician. But these are staffed by emergency medicine doctors. And so I think that's going to be a game changer for that community, being able to access emergency-like care, and if necessary, be transferred to Mission Hospital for something that's really acute.
Right. Well, that's very smart. Now, most of the folks here know Mission Hospital through Laguna Beach, and that is still there, of course.
It is still there.
You guys are still making changes and enhancements there. Tell me why that is so important.
Well, one, the history of the Laguna Beach Hospital is pretty interesting. So that hospital was started after a police officer was shot in that community and died in transit to a neighboring hospital. And that community came together and said, we need a hospital here, or we need emergency care here. And the land was again donated, an incredible story by a philanthropic member of the community, and then the hospital was born. So if you fast forward the 60 plus years that we've been down in that community, remember it wasn't always part of Providence or St. Joseph Health. It was separate prior to that.
Right.
We really do everything you could imagine down there. And I don't think we've done a good job of telling people that. What I mean by that is, we do spine surgery, we do orthopedic surgery, we do outpatient endoscopy services. We have an incredible women's imaging center down there for screening mammography and all the other services you may need. And then, of course, we were blessed to have Bill and Sue Gross, who most people know, very philanthropic here in Orange County, come forward and help us completely redo that emergency department. Again, another great ribbon cutting I got to attend. Didn't do any of the work. Early in my tenure here, we had the ribbon cutting down there for the emergency department that's been redone. And what I tell people is I live in Laguna Niguel, and I have two young boys. Again, they're 11 and 10. If you've ever been around young boys, or if you've raised any of your own, you know they find themselves with broken bones and scrapes and bumps, and heaven knows how they get into all these things. But Laguna Beach is typically where we go from an emergency medicine standpoint.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's typically a shorter wait.
Yeah.
And they can get right in, and you kind of get in and out. One of the complexities we have with the Mission Viejo campus is because we're that trauma center that I talked about, and there's so much trauma activity, you can at times end up with that extended wait time,
right.
Which I know frustrates many of our patients and community members, and we're spending a lot of time in 2023 trying to make that better.
Right.
We had an expansion of our emergency department that we just did this past year, a lot of fundraising again from community members and helping us expand to be able to ease the way of patients and their families as they come into the medical center. So it's been an exciting time.
Wow, and for the short amount of time that you've been here, you've done a fantastic job of having it all right at the tip of your tongue.
Yeah, well,
Good job.
if you want to learn an organization quickly, come during a pandemic.
Oh, that's true.
I'd only been on the job for about half a dozen months, and all of a sudden COVID was on our doorstep.
Wow.
And I know it seems like a distant memory to people, but there was a time where we didn't have a vaccine and people weren't wearing face masks,
right.
and we really did not know how to take care of this patient population. Again, I'm so proud of our medical staff and our caregivers. When we talk about healthcare heroes, these people had all the same fears as you and I and everybody else, and chose to come through the doors every day to take
right.
care of the community that we serve, and that's pretty special. That truly is answering a call and doing something special for the community you live in. So I feel blessed to get to do this work.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for all of the great information.
Again, and thank you for having me. One other thing that I know I need to mention, it was on our last slide for this presentation, was just around philanthropy. We are so blessed to live in this philanthropic community. It is nothing like I have ever been part of in my life. I would tell you, coming from the Midwest, we didn't have these sort of resources. And philanthropy really drives our ability, yes, to buy new technologies and robots and build buildings, but it really allows us to move more quickly in a way that many other health systems across the country can't, because this
right.
community's been so generous. The Leonard Cancer Institute's the best example. That
Exactly.
was a $70 million project. $35 million came from this community.
Wow.
And was fundraised in less than 3 years. It's pretty amazing. And we know that's going to be a big part of our expansion as we build our
Right.
bed tower. We know our community is going to want to have their fingerprints all over it.
Great. Well, we can talk to the foundation separately, as we have done
Absolutely,
in the past.
you certainly can.
All right. Thank you again.
All right, thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. If you'd like more information about any of the things that we have discussed, you can always go to providence.org/mission. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to this Friday's edition of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young, and I'll get right into the news and the recaps. As I've been talking about for weeks, we're still in the heart of the NFL playoffs. And I have to start by saying that my pick to win the Super Bowl this year, the Buffalo Bills, have been eliminated. In a game that saw snowfall throughout, the Bills just simply couldn't get anything going. Josh Allen threw the ball 42 times for just 265 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. The Bengals' defensive line swarmed Allen all game, and the Bills' running game also just never got going. On the other sideline, the Bengals essentially coasted from the first drive. Joe Burrow threw for 242 yards and 2 scores with no interceptions, and running back Joe Mixon added 105 yards and a touchdown on the ground, and kicker Evan McPherson was perfect, tacking on another 6 points and leading Cincy to a 27-10 victory and a spot in the AFC Championship game. The other team representing and hosting the AFC for the 5th straight year will be the Kansas City Chiefs. It was a surprisingly close game, though, with the Jacksonville Jaguars putting up a solid fight. The whole world held their breath and watched as Patrick Mahomes went down with a scary-looking lower leg injury and hobbled through the next few plays before the All-Pro QB headed to the locker room for x-rays. Luckily, Mahomes returned to finish out the game, and his injury was ruled as a high ankle sprain, which could impact him for this Sunday's game against the Bengals. This game will be in Kansas City this Sunday, and kickoff is at 3:30 p.m. Over in the NFC, one of the games was not the most exciting. The number 1 team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles, coasted over the division rival New York Giants. Quarterback and MVP candidate Jalen Hurts put on a clinic from the beginning, going 7 for 7 for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns in just the first quarter. Hurts, then Boston Scott, and Kenneth Gainwell would all add on rushing scores to help the Eagles soar to a 38-7 victory. As I said from the very beginning, this game was really never close. Other than an 8-yard touchdown run from Giants running back Matt Breida late in the third quarter, the Giants looked defeated for all 4 quarters. The Philly defense looked as good as ever, sacking Daniel Jones 5 times and forcing 1 interception. The Eagles could absolutely be the Super Bowl favorites if they continue to play like this, but their next opponent won't roll over as easily. The San Francisco 49ers will be traveling to Philly to take on the Eagles for a spot in the Super Bowl. The 49ers reignited a historic rivalry against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday afternoon, but neither team ever looked like they were in complete control throughout the game. This was a low-scoring defensive battle that saw less than 600 yards combined between both teams. 2 major things decided the outcome of this game. The 49ers' swarming defense, forcing Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott to throw 2 interceptions, and then George Kittle's juggling 30-yard catch late in the third quarter. This acrobatic catch would set up a 2-yard Christian McCaffrey touchdown run and would seal the 49ers' victory 19-12. As I said, on Sunday at noon, the 49ers will travel to a hostile Philadelphia environment to take on the powerhouse Eagles, and the winner heads to Glendale, Arizona for the Super Bowl. Now, this is normally the spot in the show where I'd make my predictions for the weekend winners, but truthfully, I got nothing. I truly don't know who will win either of these games, but all I hope for is close, exciting games, and I can't imagine that won't be the case. As always, thank you for joining me on this week's edition of Sports Corner. Be sure to enjoy our 2 electric games this Sunday as football season comes to an end. I'll see you right back here next Friday with the recap of these games and let you know who is on to Super Bowl 57. I'm Cole Young. Have a great weekend.
Well, quick, our movie for today is Catch Me If You Can. You can see it at 2 p.m. with subtitles, 6 p.m. without subtitles, brought to you by Memorial Care. Have a great Friday. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hi there, I'm Bob Eubanks. Remember me? I'm the king of whoopee. And you're watching Village Television. But everybody does.